Sounds sexy.
Take it away, me.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, like that shiburi or whatever it is. Shiburi?
Yeah.
Tie me
very-
up, bind me down.
You are just a white old man and
That's true.
don't know any.
Own it, man, own it.
Well, I think those are all good points, though. Can't really argue with any of that.
Oh, I just threw up a little bit in my mouth.
Hello,
So anyway, I told him, I was
duckers.
like, get the hell out of my house. I said, oh.
Baines!
Well, there's no reason to stab the guy 57 times.
Yeah.
48
think,
maybe,
yeah,
but 57 I think was overdoing it.
Oh, you bastards.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Drunk Duck Quackast. I'm Ozone Ocean, and I'm herding this group of cats who are just unherdable. These bastards. The voices you heard were the amazing Pitface and the incredible Baines and Tance, who has been really, really good. Fantastic.
Uncanny.
Tance. The
What
uncanny.
about
No,
you?
I'm
Tance.
not lurking. That's the only thing I'm doing.
She's
You can't be
lurking.
lurking because I'm lurking. So,
Well, you don't, hold the market on that.
well,
Or
no,
do
because
it.
you guys got to talk then. Then it's just Baines and Oz. And, I guess that's okay. But
It's really not. It's really painful for people. So.
you're going to make it too obvious. You're going to blow my cover. Get out. This is my foxhole. Get out.
So this does fit into our topic because we're going to be talking about cast of multiple characters and the contribution that each of those characters have, or just how, keeping track of characters and having many of them. But before we do that, we've got to get into the featured comic for this week. And the featured comic was Ties That Bind. So, take it away, me, with Ties That Bind. Hello, I'm Ozone Ocean, and my feature for the week was Ties That Bind. Ewan messed up bad. He was supposed to be escorting a magicless girl called a seed, but he went and got himself ambushed. Nothing he's doing is working out. Hopefully, with the help of a small army unit, he can make things right again. If not, he can always go back to fighting in the ring. There's a lot of magic in this fantasy world. It has a Japanese theme to it, which fits nicely with the manga style of the artwork. The colouring is quite sleek and very professional. All in all, this is a very well done, well presented comic. It's done by Sake Bento, rated T. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy this. It's very much in the traditional manga sort of style for a fantasy military themed comic. When the fantasy soldiers have magical weapons, and I think they sort of call out what their powers are. I'm not sure, or they're quite cleverly done because they have magical weapons, and people have to find out ways around these clever magical attacks and things like that. The artwork is quite sleek, especially when the Sakabento has drawn the magical powers and shows them, with color and all sorts of effects and things like that. They look very spectacular. The characters are very well drawn. It's a really good looking comic, but very, very true to manga kind of styles, or if you watch anime, that kind of thing. So yeah, give it a read. There aren't too many pages yet. The story is just starting. I think it's into its second chapter now, so you've got a bit of a foothold to get. Okay, so that's Ties That Bind by Sakabento, or Sake Bento, rated T. So that was our featured comic, Ties That Bind. All right, so what's up after that? It's the featured music by Gummels has given us the featured music to Ray Gunn this week. Ray Gunn.
That's
This
hilarious.
one's a slow burn. Like the rise of a distant star over the cold, crater-pocked landscape of a desolate grey moon, this sound is as cool as the environment outside your spacesuit. Blast off and enjoy the view. Ray Gunn. Take it away, Gun Wallace. Okay, so that was the featured music from Gun Wallace. Yeah, Ray Gunn by Boy Faff is the guy. Boy Faff. So, okay, so ensemble cast, guys. This is a topic that no one wants to talk about because you always want to talk about criticism, but we're gonna do it anyway. All right.
That's it. How dare you? I'm deleting all my comments.
So
I'm leaving.
Ensemble cast. So the Quackast is an ensemble cast of 4 people. Although one of us is MIA right now. I'll leave you, the listener, to guess who. It's Pitface. So yeah. In Pinky TA at the moment, I have a bit of an ensemble cast. I have Pinky as the main character. I have a character called Colin. I have a character called Betty. I have a character called Fire Pit. She has just come from somewhere. I don't know who that's based on. And there's another character who has no name but is based on Tanserine. I wonder who that's based on.
Oh my God, this is painful right now. It's painful right now.
And then I have, well, she's just has your look anyway. I put her in there anyway. And I have who else? Ace Kincaid, CC.
You can understand who I am in his comic because I'm the bossiest in there. Like the one character that calls all the orders except Pinky is me.
the one with glasses. As has to be the evil character. No. Yeah, that's CC. But yeah, I have. So my cast has grown a bit, and I find that really hard to cope with. See, I'm not someone who naturally does that. This is a whole new thing to me. Whereas you guys have, it's sort of, it's more natural. You sort of started out that way. I know Pitface, her comic, it sort of organically grew into that, which was a good thing. Baines, you started out in the beginning. It was Aphrodite Athena born from Zeus's head. I always like to go back to that because that's a fantastic.
That's right, torn from the abdomen of Zeus. Yeah.
From the head.
Or the thigh.
The head.
From the head. From the head of Zeus. Take that as you
from the head of Zeus?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness gracious. I take that as a compliment if you're still talking about me. Yeah, I think it's a multiple character cast is sort of the way I think. I would definitely, like the way I start writing anything, even if it doesn't turn into anything I finish, is like characters talking to each other. And kind of a series of relationships that have a certain kind of tension between them or contrast in personalities. Like to me, that's like what I go to put together something. It's way. I think that way a lot more easily. It's like characters can argue, and they can, somebody's in love with someone who's not, who doesn't return it, and it's, whatever you do, like,
right. So
have
they
that kind of
evolve through
conflict going on.
dialogue, right? Not just conflict
Mostly,
and
yeah.
action. Oh, wow.
It's dialogue, but it's also, bit by bit you develop, like, this guy's, like, these people have, I don't know how different Oscar and TK are, but they're the classic kind of buddy combo, where one is kind of a softer kind of guy, one is a harder.
Different.
Yeah, they are definitely different. Yeah, true. Although they have stuff in common, they're best friends, I guess, allegedly, and it's that kind of dynamic. I definitely find it's easier to build something starting there, rather than plot. Both valid. I just find it easier to have multiple person cast. Yeah.
Well, with Pinky TA, so I started out just with Pinky as the main character and sort of Cece as a kind of a side character, sort of somewhat baddie or whatever. Nothing very original there, but that was just I wasn't much of a writer, so I that was the only way I could think of it. So when I had dialogue going on, it wasn't between named characters mostly. I liked doing dialogue, but I had it between, Pinky and this side character or Pinky and that side character, which meant you really couldn't get much of a window on these other characters' personality through dialogue. And you really couldn't even get that much of a window on Pinky's personality because she was talking to people who wouldn't be there in the next few panels most of the time. So that was not so good. But now Pinky has a whole lot of other people there who are named characters, and it's a lot more fun to do dialogue when you have proper named characters who are going to come back. So the things they talk about, those characters remember, and it will build on things. It builds on the character, but it builds on, their relationship as well, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's a good thing. It's more fun as a writer to do stuff that way.
And readers, and a single focused story is fine, but that, like the way you're talking about, then readers can kind of get to like other characters, and they want to see them again, and they sort of they build sort of a an affection or an investment in more than just one character. I definitely find that, like, my sort of, if it was just about Oscar and TK, I don't know, and Abigail, I don't know if it would work, because it's the other people love TK, but they love Penelope. That's the character people love, and then TK. It's like, but then I don't know of like a story just about Penelope, although some people have suggested she could be her own star. Like, she's the standout. But to me, I'm like, it's like solo. Kramer, it's like a Kramer solo series from Seinfeld. It's like, I don't know if it works. Like, that character kind of bounces off the more characters matter.
Speaking of that, you like say, she's like in the Kramer mold. Do you know who TK reminds me of? Squidward from
can you give me a hint? I'll try
from
to guess.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh, I don't know that show. I don't know.
He's not really, but yeah, it's just like who I think of him as for some reason.
Who?
Squidward from SpongeBob.
I think Squidward? Okay, I don't know. That means nothing to me. I mean, thank you, but that name means nothing to me. I mean,
that's good. I've reached the boundaries of Bane's pop culture knowledge.
Yep.
I found the Ultima Thule of your...
You got there. Yeah.
Pop culture knowledge. That's fantastic. Yeah, so what about comics that have a massive amount of characters, a gigantic ensemble cast? I'm thinking of the classic Charby the Vampire here.
Mm.
She has all of the characters you can have. And they're not just throwaway characters either. Like, sometimes you'll have this, a comic with, like, often you'll have comics, like, with multiple characters, but they are throwaway, or, they're one note kind of thing. They're just reactionary characters. They're nothing special. But in Charlie the Vampire, all the characters have a role, and they're named. They have their own font, and she remembers the fonts as well. That's just an extreme version of a multiple cast, and they have separate destinies. They'll have storylines that don't feature yet and will feature, and she remembers what these characters have done before. So that's just going mad. And
that's like a multiverse.
What's that?
Oh my god!
That's almost like. I said that's almost like a multiverse in a sense. So she is threading several different stories together in one consistent world. So you have, like, she's exploring, at least to me it comes across, aside the super main characters that like Charby and everybody else. I think she explores, like, the world itself is a character in a way. So she has all these multiple characters because they populate this world that she's exploring, more than simply exploring the story of one single or like a set of characters, which would require fewer.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah.
At least that's my take. I mean, we should have had here on the cast talk about it.
I did think about that. I didn't. She does it well in that, she slowly builds up and she adds more characters to populate and fill up the world. Where it's done not so well is, say, like a superhero comic where they only have multiple characters because each of these comics had you have like a Wonder Woman comic, I don't know, Superman, and then for financial reasons they decide, hey, let's make the Super Friends of the Justice League or whatever, and then they put them all together, and then that's not. I mean, everything's legitimate. I'm not going to say that's illegitimate or that's a bad way of doing it, but that's another way of doing it. But it's
often in DC and Marvel, and now I think I'm gonna get beat up for this somehow, but I'm going to say, to me, often it seems like it's this huge soap opera with superheroes. Like, you get all the characters that come from singular comic series that interact with each other. Everybody gets married to everybody else. They have all this drama between each other. Then the baddies have secrets and secret children and secret marriages and it feels very much like a dynasty or something like that. But with superheroes and epic fight scenes in space or around the globe or whatever. So that's why you need.
See, that just what you just described sounds awesome to me, and that's what I always loved about comics, superhero comics, the Marvel universe. I really like the soap opera aspect of it, actually.
And I have to say, like, we have that in Drunk Duck with the Heroes Alliance, because we have a bunch of separate creators who do their comics well, and then they come together. They've got on all their characters and they've put them all into the same world. They're all lead characters in their own comics, and then they've put them into a shared world, I should say. And each author has, a bit of a turn in doing their own sort of, drawing or writing a particular story. So yeah, we have our analog on Drunk Duck, and that's done well, and that's popular, and they have a lot of fun doing it. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing it that way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we know, I mean, just look at the internet. Everyone loves that sort of drama. Like who went with whom, did what secrets there lie, and all the things in between. Just it's human nature, and I don't think it's a bad thing.
No. I think where the comics run into trouble is they weren't necessarily intended, or I mean, even if they intended to go on for decades, how could they have planned? So a lot of crazy stuff happens for 20 years, 25 years. You get to 30 years, and you have to sort of constantly create new characters or new relationships, and maybe that's where you get into some of the more cheesy secret marriages and secret clones. And it's just when you're getting into 60 years or however long the Marvel Universe has existed, it gets to be a mess. That's one reason I stopped reading comics. It got too confusing, and it was a little too all over the place. And now it's like retcons, and I think they now have various alternate universes, like Earth 616, and I don't really know what any of that is exactly, but that's when it gets tough.
I think another problem that they have is that they don't let the characters age. Like they are all forever in their prime, and at least as a rule, they never become older people. They never move on to different stages in their lives, and that makes them finite in a sense.
They do in that. I don't follow comics. I don't read them, but I do see the stuff that's written about them, and they do that. They will age a character or whatever, but they'll do it even that will be a side comic. So they'll have old Batman, and we'll say
it'll be an alternate future or something.
Yeah, they'll have their oldest
but it's
Superman.
never actually canon. Like
Old Man Logan.
Well,
they'll have this is the main story. It's been going on for 30 years, and now and the characters have been aging with this story. And you have new characters coming in, interacting with these old veterans, and then themselves becoming veterans in their own right, and having new generations, and keeping the history, and actually creating an organic world that would work that way.
Yeah, it's
that
not,
could be pretty amazing, really.
It's not done fully organically, but they do that sort of. I mean, there was with Captain America, didn't he get old, and they replaced him with a different Captain America, and you've had a whole lot of different ones. Yeah, the Steve Rogers one, and then they did the whole Hail Hydra. He got young again through some kind of magic spell, and then it turned out he was a Hydra agent all along, and that was some kind of So that can be done, but on the other side of that, you have the people who think, no, I don't want this character age. I want him to be in Eternal, and I don't want Steve Rogers. I don't want Captain America to be anyone other than Steve Rogers, because that's Captain America to me. So you have
that's also legit, but that makes for different story structures, and then you would have to have your episodic standard, villain of the, let's say, villain of the year, and then everything reverts back to normal, and then you got the new villain. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to decide what sort of universe, quote unquote, you want. Yeah. So you can't have it develop, but also the characters stay constant.
Well, yeah. Well, we're sort of talking about something else here now, like longevity of comics rather than cast of characters. But let's go with it. I do personally, my preference is for the Eternal. So, but rather than doing what they do in modern comics is, we're Eternal, but we're set in the current time. So we're set in 2018, or we're set in. I would go it's Eternal, but it's set where the character was created. So if it's Superman, we're in 1933 or whatever, 1939 or whenever Superman was created.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
but
that's
no,
my thing.
I don't think we are derailing from the topic, because this is about how you handle a huge cast and why or elements of handling a huge cast. In my opinion, what I would like, but of course I'm not a fan of superhero comics all that much. There are some I really like, but I can't say that I am like an aficionado or anything like that. So, but what I would like would be to see new people coming out from these old people and having the legacy and continuing and like keeping everyone in their actual time. I mean, in terms of era, and then you can get interactions between generations, which is something that is not really explored often. But yeah, that is like something new. Like and that's another thing. If you want to get characters that are not cookie cutter, after a while, your range will start to be limited by the sheer room that you have in your cast. So some people will start to look similar, especially if they belong to the same cohort and they come from more or less the same threads of life, and they grapple with the same problems, which is like, oh, I have powers, oh, this is my big bad, and I have to deal with it. And
secret
so
identity, all that kind of woes. And
yeah,
how do I fit in with society?
If you put people coming from completely different points in life, but also being different cohorts and also being different in the challenges that they meet. So if you have if you have established superheroes, like superhuman people living alongside non-superhuman people, at some point you have to do something that goes beyond, for example, Civil War, about the identity, which was a very, very genius concept, like having a political issue affect these superheroes very significantly. But yeah, okay, go after that. What happens after? How do you get people that remain very much militant about their side that lost, whatever side that was? For example, it is established that everyone has to have their identity public. So you have this other small group that still keeps advocating that they shouldn't, and they are very militant, and they rush out and they try to mess things up and create situations where the dialogue keeps coming up and up again. And other people are tired of this because they want to move on and have that sort of friction. But that would come with the era of the characters that deal with that problem. So I'm probably rambling here, but the idea is, if you want to have a big cast, have different people dealing with different problems in different situations, social situations. Otherwise, you will end up eventually creating the same character, in just different costumes.
They do.
That's the TLDR.
It reminds me of when people say, "Oh yeah, this character is a super speed character, and this character is a flame character, and this character is like a super strength character."
Super strong, whatever.
Oh, you shouldn't ever have that issue. Don't have 5 super strong characters. Just have like 1.
No, or if you have 5 super strong characters, have them be somewhat incompatible, not just in personality. Like, for example, if you have a super fire character and a super ice character, and they have to work together, but they are allergic to each other, exactly because their superpowers are so, polar opposites.
Yeah, have them interact. Yeah, I like that, rather than just have them part of different teams. Like, oh yeah, this is our ice character, and this is your ice character.
Yeah, I mean, but that would mean that and don't be afraid to create new characters. That's a thing that I have noticed and has given rise to the whole issue, with Comicsgate and anti-Comicsgate and retconning characters and why do you change the characters? Like, I think that stems from a fear of leaving the classic characters where they are and creating new ones that will become eventually the new classic characters. Like, so they go back to the classic ones and they retcon them in different manners, which causes people to be angry about it.
Hail Hydra.
Yes, that sort of thing. So instead of, leave poor Captain America alone and create another character that can be very, very hopeful, looking like he's going to be the heir to Captain America, that he's the American way, and I don't know what else. and then have him actually legitimately be a Hydra agent, and have everyone deal with the shock and how this happened and everything. Like, build it up, make the drama, and have
build it. I was going to say it's the thing of building, right? Like they want to sort of take a character where the work has already been done. He has all that history. He's been built, so now it matters. Now they can demolish it.
Exactly. And what if, imagine the potential, like having Captain America, he has been around, he has seen World War II and all the underhandedness that went on there, if we want to touch about on the actual real World War II. So maybe he has seen through this new hotshot guy, but nobody believes him because they think that he is envious, because he is older and he might be feeling threatened by this new upstart pipsqueak sort of character that looks to be replacing him. And in the end, they realize that he actually, because he is of course Captain America and blah, 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 that he wasn't doing that. He actually had seen the signs. And then everyone in the cast will grow out of this. And then you have more things to explore. And that's how, but you have to not be afraid to create and work and build up new characters with your old one.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to do a progressive comic I'm not saying like socially progressive, I mean progressive in a timeline as things move along. You really have to do that. It's
and remember, guys, I mean, human beings live nowadays for 70 to 100 years, depending on where you are on Earth. So you do have the capacity to have a character age and be around and not become instantly super old. You don't actually need to do that. They will, you can have people be around even to 200.
Oh, that
give them
reminds
biblical
me.
lifespans and make them, make them be old and savant and also have other problems because they see the same problems happening again and again. So then maybe they become jaded. Maybe they don't want to touch upon the world anymore because they are simply tired of cleaning up the same thing over and over and over again. And then have the new ones come in and try to get them back into the saddle of at least mentoring the new characters, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, you have a dynasty that grows over time, temporarily. Yeah. That gives me a new idea for another Quackast of the idea of character ages. What is the best? Why should we always have the characters be the same ages? Why? Maybe we should have older characters. So maybe we should have younger characters. Not. But that's for a topic for another time. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, you can do that. You can have like there's the idea of the old Batman.
That kind of thing definitely could be done and has been done and stuff like that here and there.
Yeah, the idea there's the idea of the old Batman, but he's sort of over the hill, isn't he? He has to find new
stories
ways
have been done
of
with old Batman.
Being a hero. Like, he has to plan out cleverly around his ailments, and he can't be as physical anymore, so he's got to do this and that and think ahead.
Yeah. And I think that the movie
Robins
Logan...
keep dying. Yeah.
was very successful exactly because they weren't afraid to go there, actually, to try and explore superheroes that have definitely been past their prime and they have issues and like all sorts of issues. That was fascinating, and people responded to that. So there's the proof
Or
that
maybe
it can.
Yeah.
yeah, and you can take it in new directions. Like instead of going the classic way, this character's past their prime because they're old. Maybe the character finds a new, a new kind of thing that they never knew about before. You know, maybe they become the brain, or they become a tactical genius. You know, they become
That's also awesome.
the Mycroft sort of character. They sit back and, you know, they just know everything because they've been there before. And so there can be a mutation of their power in a way, or abilities. Yeah, so
it's been done, but I think few enough times that it's definitely like the exception. I mean, to say the least, it's like very few times that it's happened. Batgirl, I think, Barbara Gordon.
Oh yes,
was
you're
attacked
right.
by the Joker and
She
ended up in
became
a wheelchair,
paraplegic,
and then she became and she became sort of a tactical. Like she became the brain, kind of like you're saying. The original Ant-Man, I think, at some point changed, and he became kind of more of a mentor figure and wasn't in a costume anymore and stuff like that. And it's been done, but like so rarely. It's not done as a rule.
That's interesting.
In these, comic universes, anyway. Yeah.
And I'm fascinated that we know this stuff and we don't all read comics. You know, I don't, and I know about Ant-Man and I know about this stuff.
I haven't read them in so long. I'm probably way out of date. He's probably back in a costume for 20 years at this point. I don't know.
But still, we know. Yeah, so that was The Killing
And
Joke.
DC, I think, will pass down the mantle. Like, there'll be a Flash, and then another Flash, another guy as Flash, another woman as Flash. And Green Lantern will pass down the mantle to different people. But they don't do it with every character. Like, Bruce Wayne is still Batman through all these changes, They don't do it in the universe. It's all different writers, right?
In the movies, it's always the same bloody origin story every few years. So we can
I mean, and now the Marvel universe, now they're they're stuck. Like they have the same actor, so actors are going to age. So this process happens naturally.
That's
right?
interesting. Yeah, they're forced to do that. So Steve Rogers as I think you can tell who my favorite Marvel character is. Yeah. So he as
Great
Captain
character.
America, changes naturally as the actor changes, and the Iron Man guy who Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, he changes as his character. His character changes with him, and we've got all that kind of stuff happening. It's
yeah, absolutely.
It's good.
I mean, they haven't gone the whole way where these characters start to really take a back seat. I mean, these characters are still front and center, and thankfully, because you come to love them and you want to see them.
They did with the Wolverine. I haven't seen that movie. But
I think they're going to reboot the universe. Probably they're not going to.
But at least they did it, though. He got old and he died, and he passed the torch to this girl or something, didn't he?
I'd be shocked if they did that. If they followed that story up. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, they wouldn't.
I thought that was like an important film.
It's not in the This is like way off topic, but it's a different company now. Disney owns the Marvel universe. And the different characters were sold off years ago, so different companies owned different characters. The X-Men universe doesn't cross over, but now it will because Disney bought Fox. I guess it is 20th Century Fox.
It does cross over.
Now, though, I'm guessing there'll be.
Oh no, it doesn't. I was thinking in Deadpool it crosses over, but it doesn't really at all.
Yeah, Deadpool crosses over with the X-Men.
Yeah, I
I
was
think
thinking that
was he
crosses over to
Fox?
Marvel.
Yeah, he's owned by Disney now too.
It doesn't.
He might have talked about it in his movies, but now he can. He's a Disney guy now too.
All right, I don't know anything. I've seen a few movies and read a bit of stuff, and yeah, there are limits.
I feel disgusted with myself that I do know any of this. The sun is shining outside. Why don't I go look at that?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's awful. I kid. No, it's but it's I'll be interested to see what they do as these characters as the actors leave. Like, are they just gonna they have other classic characters now? They can do X-Men again, which they probably will now that they can do a Disney, like, Marvel Universe version. And I bet they'll do Fantastic Four again, but like, are they gonna just let Iron Man go and let Captain America go? I'll be interested to see what they do.
Hopefully better, though, than what they did with Star Wars. I had to say that.
Oh, Lord. I was trying not to say it earlier, but yeah.
How many characters? I mean, Star Wars now has become... Star Wars was always a little bit of an ensemble cast, but now... And they did expand upon that in the extended universe, so I'm told. They'd go into Boba Fett's backstory, or Han Solo, or this minor character, or that minor character. So they did expand it. The films sort of said, okay, we don't care about any of that. We're not going to do that. But these newer films, I think what they're doing is they are moving that way into creating more characters, not necessarily having them cross over, but building upon them. So we have the Han Solo movie, and that introduced a whole lot of new characters into the world, and the possibility of them not having their own movies, but at least having a slightly bigger role, or maybe appearing in another Han Solo movie if they ever did that, which doesn't look like they will now, because that wasn't the success they thought it would be. But say these new Star Wars movies, they had the original characters, and this is what you were talking about, Tance, having characters sort of get retired and aged, and that's what they did. So they had but Han
in
Solo
the
being killed off. It wasn't done very well. It was done badly, but at least they sort of had an attempt at it.
The premise isn't bad, like in my opinion at least. The premise isn't bad at all, and it could have given rise to this new awesome future for a ton of new films. But they treated the old guard with hatred, in my opinion. Like, they completely raped whoever they could. In all ways possible, I would say, except on screen. So when you do that,
although the Luke character came close, but
yes.
I really have to watch that film. I have to watch The Last Jedi just to see what the thing is.
At your own risk. But the thing is that when you treat the old guard, that is very much loved for who they have been established to be by the audiences, when you treat them in such a very, let's say, superficially irresponsible manner, and you completely change who they are without any narrative reason for it, because you can change any character to be whoever you want them to be, provided that you support it properly in the story. Like, why have they developed as they did? Going back to the whole thing of building up the character. So if you don't do that and you just possess them to be something who they have never been, then the audiences don't trust you with anything else further. So they will not trust the characters that you establish, because you have proven that you can retcon them at any moment. They can become something completely different just because that's what you want.
That's a very good point.
And people, like audiences, will feel that on a gut level. And that, I think that's what we've seen. Yeah.
You establish trust.
It's very
and
sad.
You respect that.
Exactly.
And Star Wars ain't Marvel. Like I can't believe how dumb they were to not realize how much that universe rests on Han Solo, Leia, and Luke.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, they're in big trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, Ray.
Even I agree with you totally, though, that them taking a back seat and being more mentors as a new generation comes absolutely makes sense. I don't want to see new actors playing them and stuff. But I wanted to see them getting older, and they're kind of taking a back seat at that point. That absolutely makes sense.
It's natural.
I definitely expected
and
that.
I would like them to see like super powerful and super quiet beings, in the sense that a volcano is going to mess you up if it explodes, but it doesn't explode often. Like that sort of level of power from them, and that sort of potency. Like make them the Yodas. Show us.
Yeah, or the Obi-Wan. Yeah, like him. Make me more powerful than you could possibly imagine. Yeah, so he was a pretty strong character, even though, and that's another thing. So I mean, disregarding the shit, the crap of the prequels, you imagine that in the past, the Obi-Wan character must have been a really powerful, important Jedi. I'm just going to pretend the prequels didn't exist, and so now he's become an older guy in the real Star Wars movie, and he is a different kind of guy. Now he can get more power being part of the Force rather than and being a mentor to this Luke character rather than being a fighter in his own right. And that's what you expect Luke to become, and Han Solo, and Princess Leia.
Yeah, and actually the premise...
Han Solo would be the cool, grizzled old guy, and he would probably go out in a blaze of glory. I could see, like, when I heard them each, like, one of them would die in each movie, I was okay with that, much as I was dying to see those old characters again. I was like, yeah, that does make sense. I figured they'd keep Han Solo for 2 movies at least, because Harrison Ford, you would want people to keep coming to the movies, have him there as a to help. So I was shocked at the way they did it. Like, no, these old people are done. It's all about the new again, trying to skip the building portion.
Spoiler alert for anyone now that potentially hasn't seen it, but I'm gonna say it now. They actually kill General Akbar off screen, and they just say, "Oh, and by the way, he's dead. Here is his replacement. You're welcome."
It was so. I actually missed that when I saw it in the theater. I missed that he died. It was so fast.
That's lame.
I read later that he died. Oh, okay, I missed that.
That's lame. Lame.
Like when you have,
and they gave the blaze of glory moment not to him, not to Leia, but to like a brand new character
that nobody liked, by the way.
That nobody, like after the fact, nobody like I hated her. So at the very least, it's like
why didn't you let Akbar do that? I would have been fine, absolutely fine.
Yeah, he's a fish guy. Maybe he lives longer than the normal people. So a squid guy, whatever he is.
He's a fish guy, but he was so memorable because that look and that voice and everything. You remember him, even though he wasn't a huge part of the movies. You remember it's a trap, like his way of talking.
He's a calamari.
Although the puppet systems are not yet operational.
Like, imagine how awesome it would be if, the whole premise with Kylo Ren being drawn to the dark side and being like the second Anakin Skywalker, because he also is a Skywalker, and I would love to see Luke struggle to keep him on the light side, and some
fantastic
bastard, and some bastard on the other side, being very, very cunning and very, very much undetectable by the adults, let's say, always undermining and always being very, very subtle in his manipulations of the kid and making him constantly angry and constantly veering towards the dark side and having this tug of war over this one very important kid. We have not seen that really in the Star Wars universe. And instead of having this stupid situation where Luke, spoiler, where Luke tries to kill him in his sleep because he had a force vision that he would become a Sith or something like that. Like Luke's entire character is that he protects family and he sees the good in everyone and he fights for this good that he sees, even if it is a sliver of goodness.
Yeah.
And it has been established that Kylo has goodness in him still, along with the bipolar disorder that he clearly has. And so definitely he would fight for him. He wouldn't try to kill him in his sleep.
Yeah.
So when you have these sort of things, of course, nobody cares about the new generation. But if the old generation invests in the new generation, then you get to care for them because they are the products of the characters that you like, one way or the other. And they will carry the torch because they will be the ones that keep the old guard alive. Whether they die or not is irrelevant.
Yeah.
That's at least my take.
Well said.
On this.
They actually passed the torch. That's echoing from your microphone.
Oh, really? Sorry. Now?
Yes.
Yes.
No worries. We're sort of reaching the end of the Quackast anyway. But yeah,
Alex, why you can stop then? Get off my soapbox. Okay.
No. You had. I think you should be writing the Star Wars. You've got the experience as a movie script writer now, so you could actually do it. You got IMDb credits, so it's
I
just
do, but
waiting
there
for
are
you.
plenty of writers that can do it. I don't know what happened, and these guys took on this amazingly super popular in the popular attention and crosshairs saga, and were allowed also to mess it up this way. I mean, I'm not saying anything new or super genius. It's very, very, very simple writing principles that everybody who wants to be a professional in writing learns. Like it's super simple stuff. So I don't know what happened and what they were thinking.
But still,
It's a mystery.
they messed it up. Yeah. What can you do? Oh, again, we have gone back to Star Wars, which is I don't know. Maybe
It's iconic. It's iconic, and everyone knows about it. That's why.
Yes, that's very true. It's universal, and if you don't know it, you're an idiot.
Now you're being polarizing. No.
Yeah, that's not nice.
Get with the program. Well, I have to watch that last film to really understand all the ins and outs. So far, the Rey character was good, although she was undermined by poor writing and poor plotting. But she is a good character. Poe Dameron, I think, is the new Han Solo character.
All the new ones have potential. All of them.
He's good.
But,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but a lot of the elements that made her unique and interesting,
That's the other
they
one.
are erased in The Last Jedi. So don't hold on to her as you know her for too long.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, even in The Force Awakens, they're undermined by some crappy things. Well,
Yeah.
Finn is made too childlike. Rey is made too a little bit too Mary Sue, but there's a bit too much of a Deus Ex Machina in there in her plotting. So yeah, but that I'm sort of going too far off.
That becomes worse. That becomes worse than Mary Suing.
All right.
Yeah.
No, cool.
Man, I hated to miss all that. I was so into it, but why didn't I get a diaper for today? Every year.
Get the beer.
Well,
Listen back to the episode. Yes. Yeah, go over it again. Yeah.
Well, we should wrap up now, because we're just getting to the time. And well, anyway, this has been a pretty interesting Quackcast about characters. Next week is our 400th episode. 400th! Oh my god, we've been going for so many years. So we'll have to do something community oriented there. Get people to talk about when they started on the duck and the drunk duck and all that stuff, and why they're still around, and you know,
why are you still here?
why are you still here? So yeah, we'll have to do that. All right, thank you everybody for being part of the Quackcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.